The 2022 midterms are approaching, and a new book is out now aiming to debunk some of the false claims made about the 2020 election. The timing is good because it comes as a CBS News poll finds a majority of Americans believe that for future generations, the U.S. will be less of a democracy than it is right now. That's a majority belief. This is fueled in part, of course, by the false claims of former President Trump that the election was stolen from him in 2020. The book is called The Big Truth, Upholding Democracy in the Age of the Big Lie, and it argues the 2020 election was actually a triumph of democracy. It says election denial now puts our nation at risk for, in fact, a civil war. It's co-written by Major Garrett, CBS News' chief Washington correspondent, and David Becker, executive director and founder of the Center for Election Innovation and Research. Gentlemen, good morning to both of you.
Morning, Tony.
Morning, Tony.
The book is co-written, but I hear each of your voices at different times. And I think that there's a very interesting contrast at the center of this book. On the one hand, you have what was a tremendous accomplishment, the 2020 election, one of the smoothest, most successful of all time. I hear your voice in that. And yet we have this astounding denial of it that imperils us. And as you put it, or I hear both of you say, civil war is stalking us. And those are the stakes, and that's the contradiction. Let's take them in part, starting with you, David. How was the 2020 election one of the most successful in modern American history?
Well, if you look at all the objective facts that we know from 2020, we had more verifiable paper ballots than ever before. These are ballots that you can go back to and audit and recount. 95% of all voters in the United States cast ballots on paper in 2020, the most ever. It was only about 75% in 2016. Every battleground state had paper ballots. And in all of those states, the ballots were audited. We confirmed that the machines that counted the ballots did so accurately. We had more pre-election litigation than ever before, clarifying the rules. Every candidate, every campaign knew what the rules were on Election Day. They might not have liked them all. Both sides liked some and didn't like some, but they knew what the rules were. And then post-election, of course, we famously had more litigation than ever before. 60 courts looked at the evidence, confirmed that the results were accurate. Even Trump-appointed judges did that. And so the result was a great triumph of American democracy, the highest turnout we'd ever seen. 20 million more voters than we'd ever seen in any election, managed during a global pandemic, all verified.
And when we say triumph of democracy, we don't mean you have to be satisfied with the result. Lots of people are unhappy that President Biden won. Fine. Some people missed the Trump presidency. Fine. But disenthrall yourself from the idea that because you're unhappy, that entitles you or gives you license to condemn something that was actually an example of American cooperation, collaboration, innovation, and a positive result for the furtherance of our democratic experiment.
You imagine a January 2023 as going very, very badly. If you could sketch briefly that very bad outcome and what we can do to prevent it.
So to make it clear to everyone, this is speculative fiction. It's a nonfiction book that opens with a chapter of speculative fiction. We're imagining something that could happen. All right, Texas changed its laws after 2020, making already restrictive laws even more restrictive. And there are concerns, and they've manifested themselves in the March primary there, that voters of color might have more difficulty complying with those. So we paint a scenario where, also under Texas law, you can open carry, and poll observers, election watchers have been given more powers to move around and contest things. So there's an argument, and the argument escalates. And nobody knows how or why, but a gunshot goes off, and a voter dies. And Democrats looking at this nationally say, oh my God, this is now a death in a polling place, and this looks like an assault on democracy that is now riddled with blood on the floor, literally in a voting precinct. And they say, look, these tensions are so intense, we've reached our breaking point in terms of tolerance. And the Speaker of the House, in this speculative fiction story, we say, doesn't see the entire Texas delegation, Republicans and Democrats, as a protest over what's going on in Texas. And because it's a close election, that delegation decides who controls the House. So now who controls the House of Representatives is up for grabs.
And so we have to save the country. The Big Lie is the era. The Big Truth is the book. It'll be good conversation at Thanksgiving. On sale now. We'll be right back.